Hello and welcome to another video about Cardano. I want to update you about the latest price moves, what has been happening in the last few hours, and as always we want to take a quick look at the Bitcoin chart before we do the Cardano analysis. I do this because the Bitcoin price still determines what Cardano is doing to a large degree. If we take a look at CoinMarketCap, not really much happened, always things moving still in sort of a sideways movement. You can see that here on the charts, but if we take a closer look at the actual charts, we can see that something has happened, and I want to talk you through that. Here on the Bitcoin chart, this is the daily one. I talked about it in yesterday's video and the day before that we are in this ascending wedge, which can indicate that it is a bearish move, a bearish pattern, because what we essentially see, yes, we see higher lows and we see higher highs. But what's eventually happening in the market is a bit uncertain. The distance between the highs and the lows, gets smaller. So for example, you had a low here, then you had a low here, and the distance between these two lows is greater than the distance between the last two lows. And also the same with the highs. So the market is losing a bit momentum. We can also see that on the volume. The volume is reducing as well as the market is a bit uncertain. And we can also see that with the RSI, the momentum indicator, the momentum is dropping a little bit. So not necessarily a bad thing, because we were in overbought territory, and it, as always, and I mentioned that before, that the RSI, when we're in overbought territory, usually tries to get back into this range here. So we're doing that at the minute, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. And the MACD is losing momentum as well, which we've actually been in the green now for 3 to 4 weeks. So if we're moving into the red zone here, which we seem to be doing right at this moment, because as you can see here, these two, they haven't touched yet, these two lines here, these two moving averages here. However, if that happens, if the blue line crosses the orange line to the downside, could indicate some sort of sideways movement or a slight downtrend. Not necessarily for the long term, but at least maybe for the next week or two. And in my opinion, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The reason I say that is that we've really jumped quite a lot. You know that we've really had massive price increases in the last few weeks. And I said before, it would be healthy to see some sort of sideways movement for a while to make sure that maybe that 200-day moving average we are currently moving at, in this area still, maybe that would help to become a more substantial support level then. And it's just about gaining some traction again to move to new all-time highs. Something has happened that is worth pointing out. You can see that here. We have tried to break out to the downside below the 200-day moving average. Yeah, you can see that here, that we were below briefly, and you can see that we are sort of moving outside of this ascending triangle now. The next few hours are crucial now. The next few hours will determine if we are going up again, and if we are continuing to climb up towards the 50k. Yeah, because the next upswing here on the daily will, well, it's actually within the next day, I guess, or within the next 24 hours. The next candle will really determine if we are going down, if we're going towards the 20-day moving average, which would be the next support level for me. But it would also determine, guys, if we break out of this ascending triangle. And hopefully, I mean, in a sense, I want to move that it, I want that it stays within this ascending triangle, so that we move towards 50k and move towards new all-time highs. That's what we're all waiting for, guys, and I want that, but obviously the price is doing possibly something different. I hope we are going to climb up, and then we'll see a move to the upside. That would be great, because we all want to see new all-time highs, and we are in the Bitcoin bull market, and I still believe that. I said that in yesterday's video, that I want to see new all-time highs this year, and the stock-to-flow model is telling us that we will see a Bitcoin of around 100k this year at least. So we're currently pretty much at the 200-day moving average again. So yeah, as I said, the next daily candle will really determine where that candle here closes, will determine where we are going. However, let's take a closer look at the 4-hour chart, the more short-term chart that might tell us more. What we can see here, that really volatility is reducing. Yeah, we see really, we really see that the price is getting squeezed here. And I said yesterday as well that we can see this, you know, when the price is squeezed into these small levels, into these small surface areas, this is really like pressure building up. So there might be a move to the upside or downside very soon, and a substantial one. So if this sort of pressure builds up, normally after, you know, when you break out of such an ascending wedge, that is normally a huge move. And what we can see, and it doesn't look very good to be honest, we're actually moving between the 20 and the 50-day moving average again. So what happened yesterday was a larger candle moving below the 20-day moving average, which has been support for quite a bit. And we now, you know, you can see it here since actually the 15th of August. Well, actually, with Bitcoin, we've been below the 20-day moving average for a bit. So it's not too much of a problem. We've been below the 20-day moving average here, and we found our way to the upside. So that tells me actually the 20-day moving average for Bitcoin, not necessarily a key one, a key support level. So what we can see here, we have gone down on the 15th of August. We've moved to the upside of the 20-day moving average, which is nice. Now we are below it again, and hopefully what this shows is that in the next few hours are really determining where we are heading. Are we going to break out to the upside again? Here we can see that breakout to the downside of the ascending wedge, which was attempted, not successful, which is nice. We're now back in the ascending wedge, but really squeezed here between the downside or the lower end of the ascending wedge and the 20-day moving average. So what are we going to see? What does the RSI tell us? The RSI is telling us that we have a little bit of scope to the upside. We're currently only at the 50 level on the 4-hour. So that means we could see a move to the upside, which is really interesting, which is good. It's pretty much the same where we were on the 15th of August when we, after that, saw an increase again above the 20-day moving average. And now we're below it again, but the RSI is pretty much at the same level. So we could see a similar move to the upside and then sort of in that wave movement. What the MACD is pretty much at the same level as well. We're in the red. However, what we see here is a negative trend of the RSI on the 4-hour chart, which has been going on now for a bit actually. So you can actually see that on the price as well, because it looks like on the chart that we are doing something, and I need to just close that quickly, that we are seeing something like a curve building within that ascending wedge. So we are not yet, so it looks like at the moment that we are trading sort of in the lower half of this ascending wedge. We are still climbing up within it, but this is like a make or break point at the moment. We don't want to break out. I don't want that this breaks out to the downside, but really it determines in the next few hours what's going to happen. So watch that, guys, watch that. Gonna have a look at Cardano. Cardano, what has been happening? Again, we are here. Let me go to the daily chart first. On the daily chart, we can see that we are doing a sideways movement or a slight down trend at the moment on the very short term here. In the last 4 days, we see lower highs. We are still in this range that I told you about between $2 and $2.25. $2.25 was the high, the local high in the last few days. And what is good to see, really good to see, is that the 20-day moving average is now catching up on the current price action. So we are only around 27% away now. This was already at around 50%. So it's important that this catches up, because it acts as a support level then, should the price break out to the downside. And the closer obviously the 20-day moving average is, and also the 50-day moving average, which is currently down here and currently around 45% away. So still overextended, but it is important that they catch up. And the longer we move in this sort of corridor here, the better for these to catch up and then to provide more close support levels. As I said in the last few videos, it's important that we see something like a sideways movement or a slight consolidation to gain more traction, so that we can go to higher highs again and to a new all-time high. In my opinion, That's very important. What we can see, the RSI is getting back into sort of normal territory slowly. We are still overbought, which indicates there is some scope to the downside, potentially. And however, which is a good sign, the MACD is still in the green, which is nice. There has been a lot of momentum, and we are still in bullish territory here. So that's good. What could happen is that we are trading between these two areas, or in this area, for a few days or maybe a week. Let's take a look at the 4 hour if it tells us anything else. On the 4 hour, however, something crucial has happened, and that doesn't look too good on the 4 hour chart at least. So if we go back, we've really traded above the 20-day moving average for a very, very long time. You know, last time we were below the 20-day moving average, and only for a very short period of time. That was in April. After that, we've always been above the 20-day moving average. It really acted as support level. You can see that. What happened yesterday, actually, and I talked about it yesterday morning. I said that in the next few hours, or, you know, until tomorrow morning, something significant will happen. So either because you see this 20-day moving average moving up, and we have this 225 resistance level that we touched before and didn't get through. So what happened was the price was squeezed in between this 20-day moving average and the yellow resistance level, and something needed to happen. Either a breakout above the resistance level of 225, or a move to the downside. And yeah, we seem to have broken below the 20-day moving average. Doesn't necessarily mean something significant, but what we now need to watch out for, can we get above the 20-day moving average again? Because now we will be, very shortly, be squeezed between the 50-day and the 20-day moving average. And it just shows there will be less volatility potentially, and pressure building up really in the market. And then there will be another move, either above the 20-day moving average or below the 50. And, you know, it's important to watch out for these things, because they can tell us what's going to happen for the next few weeks potentially, because these are important support or resistance levels. And if they are, you know, if we're trading above them, it's really all good and all bullish. But if we start to drop below these moving averages, it's not necessarily a really good thing for the price. So I just hope that something similar happens here again, as we saw in April, that we get above the 20-day moving average again. But what it could mean now, and that the next few candles will determine that, and of course we're going to track that on this channel. It depends on if this will now act as resistance level. It has actually acted as resistance for the last, you know, 4 candles. And it's just something to watch out for, guys. Just want to make you aware of it. Still everything looking bullish. I'm happy that we see some sort of sideways movement. What I hope is that we stay within this level. And bear in mind, there can always be a breakout to the downside. I don't hope it will happen. I want to see new all-time highs. And if we look at what happened when the last hard fork happened in March, we could see short-term, you know, corrections, or let me go back to that. We could see various short-term corrections and so on before. So this is what happened. This is the way before the hard fork in March. We saw this huge pump, then a correction. It could happen again, honestly, it could happen again. Move up again, correction. So, and these corrections were like, you know, they were not substantial, but you need to be prepared. They were like something like 40%, yeah, or 35%. So be aware that something like that can always happen before we climb to new all-time highs, right? So it's just something to be aware of. Don't panic when something like that happens. I always keep my ADA anyway. I won't sell any of that. And it's not a good price to sell for me. So come to your own conclusions. As always, I hope you liked that update. I'll update you later in the day what has been happening. And yeah, I hope it was useful. If you liked it, please smash the like button. And if you want to follow me on this crypto journey, please subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.